Apple's March event is officially canceled. What happened to those new iPads we were supposed to get this week? Plus, we've got some new iPhone leaks. That budget iPhone I see is looking better than ever before. And sideloading iOS apps is here for your iPhone, but there's a catch. There are like 25 different catches. There's a lot of Apple news happening this week, some pretty cool leaks on the iPhone. Let's talk about the March event that is no more and break down all the Apple news of the week you need to know about right now. So for the past few weeks, we've been discussing the big possibility of an Apple Spring event specifically happening in March. Apple has been known for these spring events. A couple of years ago, we had that jam-packed spring loaded event that, as the name suggested, gave us a lot of really great products. And we're hoping, at least all signs are pointing, to a pretty good return to form this year with an Apple March event where we get new iPads, new accessories, new Macs, maybe a couple of surprises in there like some new iPhone colors. And now we're hearing that's officially off the table for 2024 and not going to happen. We ended up hearing late last week that Apple was actually choosing not to go forward, for whatever reason, with sort of their typical digital event with all those cool demos and videos, but instead release some all-new products in a very unceremonious fashion, just with sort of a flurry of press releases that would pop those things on to the Apple website. And on Monday, that's exactly what started to happen. Apple dropped a press release early Monday morning introducing the all-new MacBook Air M3, which is basically identical to the M2 version that we got not that long ago, but it does pack a couple of interesting tweaks. One of those, obviously, with the name being M3, is this has the newer, more powerful, more efficient M3 chip, but also Apple has tweaked the midnight finish to sort of reduce the fingerprints that it was collecting like a magnet with that very first option. As someone who owns one of those models, I can tell you it's really gross and disgusting, so hopefully this version is way better and really does a better job of repelling those nasty, greasy fingerprints that you just can't seem to avoid no matter what you do. What's also interesting here is that the new MacBook Air can actually power two displays at once as long as the lid is closed. Not a whole lot of differences here between M2 and M3, so if you do want a newer MacBook Air and you're gonna maybe buy one for the first time, I'd probably go the M3 route. You can still buy the M2 version for $999, which means the older MacBook Air wedge design is officially dead, and if you're like me and you've got an M2 MacBook Air, really no discernible reason or justifiable reason to upgrade to one of those new ones. So if you've got an M2, you're fine. If you've got an M1, maybe there's a case to be made that newer design and some of those creature comforts are worth it. In addition to that all-new MacBook Air, Apple also introduced some new cases and watch band colors as well, but surprisingly, no new iPhone color. For the last couple of years, we've seen Apple do this mid-cycle iPhone refresh where they give us a new color for the iPhone lineup, and we had heard some rumblings that could be happening with the iPhone 15. Now would be the time to do it, but that didn't happen. And typically when Apple does this color refresh, they do the cases and accessories at the same time. So seeing as we got the latter without the former means probably no new color option for the iPhone 15 series this year. No spring surprise. But then, of course, comes the big question on iPads. One of the big sort of reasons to have this March event would be to give the iPad some love. We got no iPad updates last year. This was supposed to be sort of the time for the iPad to shine. And as of filming this video, we've heard nothing. So what's going on with iPad Pro OLED? Now, to refresh your memory, we're looking at two iPads here in particular to sort of kick off the year. That would be an all-new version of the iPad Pro with OLED displays for both the 11 and 13-inch models, the M3 chip on the inside, and then a 12.9-inch larger iPad Air that give you the big screen iPad experience and not break the bank, especially since these OLED iPad Pros are expected to be more expensive, maybe a little bit more expensive, maybe significantly more expensive. We don't know as of right now. And I should be clear that while these are sort of the two showstoppers, there could be some other things as well. I mean, Apple could give some spec bump updates to other iPads in the lineup. Maybe the iPad mini could get a bit of an update. New Apple iPad accessories are expected as well, like a new Apple Pencil, new Magic Keyboard case. Basically, if you're in the market to buy an iPad, now is a good time to wait because we should be getting some pretty significant upgrades soon. We don't have an exact date on when these should be launching, but according to some rumblings and some stuff from Mark Gurman from Bloomberg, seems like early next week. March 11th-ish, 12-ish, something, should be happening early next week that hopefully will give us the info on all these new iPads. And because this spring event isn't happening, basically 2024, like 2023, will have its very first Apple event in June. So nothing happening in terms of Apple events until June for WWDC. All right, next up, I wanted to quickly share some good news and some bad news for your iPhone. Good news is that iOS 17.4 dropped this week, has a bunch of new features built in, and for the first time brings the ability to sideload apps on your iPhone, at least if you're in the EU. But the bad news here is that while you technically can sideload apps and get apps on your phone from other sources but the App Store, Apple, of course, is doing just the bare minimum to comply. They've got a lot of hoops you've got to jump through for you, the iPhone owner, and developers. And if, for instance, you were to leave the EU, those apps and the App Store would no longer work. And there's a grace period and stuff like that. But basically, Apple is doing everything they can to shut this down. They're doing enough to comply with the law, but you better believe they do not like this at all. So while sideloading is here, it's not as magical or as amazing as you might think it is. Not like the days of Cydia. Who remembers Cydia? Drop a comment down below if you do. And as usual these days, I've got some new leaks and rumors and updates on the 2024 iPhone lineup, and surprisingly here, I've actually got more updates to share on the iPhone SE4 than the iPhone 16. This is actually shaping up to be a pretty significant upgrade, and if you've got a lower cost iPhone and you want to sort of get a new iPhone but not break the bank, you might want to wait for this because it's going to be big. Now, the story of the iPhone SE4 is interesting for a couple of reasons. One is because this rumor has been very on and off. Apple was going to do a new version, they weren't going to, they were, they won't. Seems like this phone is now back on, and also it's shaping up to be more flagship and premium than it ever has before. For example, some big updates are coming to the iPhone SE4, like the home button is out, Face ID is in, the older iPhone 8 style design is out, and now replaced by something more modern and sleek, sort of going off of the chassis of the iPhone 14. You've got a 6.1-inch OLED display. Yes, Apple is rumored to be giving their lowest cost iPhone an OLED display, and also an action button and a USB-C port. Look at that. Seems like this is shaping up to be a really cool phone. And here are the CAD renders we got for this phone, and also some of the front plate materials, some sort of object here, rumored to be coming from the SE4, posted by Sunny Dixon over on X. Look at those slim bezels. This is again shaping up to be a really great iPhone upgrade when it comes. Now, I believe that we've seen iPhone SE updates typically every other year. So we got one in 2020. I believe one came in 2022. Seems like 2024 should be the time we get a new iPhone SE, but it also might not happen. Rumors have been very back and forth on whether we'll see a new iPhone SE this year or not. I think the current consensus is 2025, but seeing as many of these parts that have leaked already, maybe suggests it's coming sooner than we think. I'm not exactly sure what a release date on this is. Maybe it could come in the fall, but as soon as I've got more info, I will of course let you guys know. And then of course on the iPhone 16 front, we've got some leaks there as well. This is a CAD file allegedly for the iPhone 16 that shows a couple of interesting things. One, of course, again, is that vertically stacked camera system seems to be making a comeback on these phones. And also this new capture button will be here on the entire iPhone 16 lineup. We still have no idea what the capture button is going to do, if it's touch sensitive or how it works, but it should be coming to every single iPhone in the lineup this fall. So I want to know your thoughts to 3 questions down below in the comments. Answer me 3 of these questions. 1, your thoughts on Apple skipping the March event. Thumbs up or thumbs down if that was a good idea or not. 2, your thoughts on iPad updates. Are you looking to get a new iPad? Is OLED enough to get you to upgrade? Do you think Apple's going to go crazy with the price? And then number 3, iPhone SE4. Seems like Apple is doing everything they can to check all the right boxes to make this compelling. OLED display, larger display, good camera, USB-C action button. Seems like this might be a better buy than like an iPhone 13 or 14 or even an iPhone 15, depending on your needs. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on that. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. I am Robert Rosenfeld from the Apple Circle, and I'll see you all in the next one.